Welcome to this week's episode of Unfiltered Perspectives. I'm Tara.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Leslie.
Today we're talking about a topic that's often overlooked but can have a big impact on our lives. And that topic is pettiness. Did I say that right? Pettiness. We'll explore what it means to be petty, how to recognize it in others and ourselves, and whether or not we even care about our own petty behavior. Have you ever found yourself holding on to a grudge over something small? Or maybe you've noticed someone else being overly critical about trivial things? Well, let's unpack why pettiness happens, how it affects our relationships, and maybe even how we can choose more positive and constructive responses if you want. This is Unfiltered Perspectives, where real talk leads to real growth, and every perspective is valued.
Thank you, Tara, for the introduction into this week's topic, pettiness. How do you define pettiness? Can one of you define pettiness for our audience? For those that may not know.
For those angels. For those angels who are so far away.
Just so that everyone is clear.
No, it's not about being angelic.
But I would define pettiness in a couple of ways. One might be caring a lot. I would say caring too much, overly much about really small, inconsequential, unnecessary things. And also being overly critical about those things.
I think it's something similar, focusing on really small things or grievances or, things like that. And you just allow them to cause a lot of frustration. It causes a lot of conflict, maybe even, I don't know. I think I mentioned it before, holding grudges. I don't know. I think it sometimes is about things that just take up like too much real estate in our head. Leslie, what about you?
I agree with you both, but I'm trying to find a way to put into words what I'm thinking when I think of being petty. Because I do agree with both of your definitions, but also when I think of being petty is when you are, I think, taking digs at people intentionally. I guess is the best way to describe it, like irritating someone or going after someone to get under their skin and you know that you're doing it, you're being petty.
Mm-hmm.
I guess is the best way to describe it. That's immediately what I think of when I think someone's being petty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting about this topic is I frequently joke in a way that's like joking, but not really, that I'm super petty. And in preparation for this, I kept trying to think an example of when I have been petty, and I really couldn't think of something. So I'm hoping that am I hoping that maybe one of you can come up with an example of a time that I have been petty? I wonder if you can come up with an example of a time that I have been petty or that you have been petty, or maybe we want to take it away from ourselves and give an example of somebody else petty. Okay.
Tara's way too excited to jump in and tell when you've been petty.
Well, she's my little sister, so I have a lifetime, I feel, of examples. Just kidding, sorta. Why are you making a face? I honestly don't think of myself as being petty. And so one of the things one of the questions I wanted to ask in introduction is, are you a petty Freddy or are you a let it go flow? And I consider myself a let it go flow. Other people may feel differently. That's how I think of myself because I don't think I tend to let things fester for a long time. I don't think that when I feel grieved, I set out to like get revenge or to get a dig in at other people. So,
I am definitely, what did you say, a petty Freddy?
A petty Freddy. or
All day, every day.
Petty Betty, whatever. I can think of some instances where I think that I've experienced pettiness from other people.
Are you're being very careful with your words.
You,
Are you thinking of instances that you've been petty, that you've experienced pettiness from me, Kimberly?
yes.
I specifically asked you to share them, so feel free.
I know that you did, but I'm not sure I want to, but I'll try. I don't want to a specific thing, but I will say that over the course of growing up with you, there have been times where we siblings have felt that the need to walk on eggshells because, when you upset Kim, she'll give you the silent treatment for like a long period of time. Or if you upset Kim, she'll just like withdraw from relationships, sort of.
It's nodding.
I remember a time, and as an adult, I remember a time a few years ago, you, me, and Matthew had gone on a trip to, I think it might have been Dorney Park or someplace. And at some point, you had overheard a conversation and you were making all kinds of judgmental statements about these people that you don't know and their conversation and their relationship and the dynamics of a relationship that didn't really know anything about. And I said that, that was kind of judgmental. And that was, you kind of didn't like that. I'll just say you didn't like that, and you caught a nasty attitude for a long time. And when I say a long time, I don't mean minutes, I mean days, because I'd said that. And I remember at some point during this period of time, you were kind of giving me the silent treatment and just kind of just being, you're just nasty. You're just kind of being nasty. And at some point, Matthew, we were talking about something, and Matthew's like, Kim, was my mom a good sis? Is my mom a good sister? Or was my mom a good sister? And you were kind of like, well, it depends on what you mean by a good sister or something like that. And I was like, okay. But I also was thinking, well, I guess he's asking you by your estimation, what you meant by that. But it was just the way you said it and that whole situation. And it's something that stuck with me in a way that like, yeah, I don't want to experience that anymore. So I tend to try to be careful in conversation or with you about certain things now.
So you think it was the timing of it when Matthew put that question, she was being petty in that moment?
Definitely in that moment, yes. But I
Kim,
think it extended more than just that moment.
Mm-hmm. So you think what you're thinking of as like the whole silent treatment as being petty?
The whole silent treatment and just it was more than just the silent treatment. It was just the way you interacted after that, like for a while.
Mm-hmm.
A while.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that incident because my recollection of that was that particular conversation for me came at the end of what had been a few other conversations where I was actually finding you very judgmental of me. And so I remember that visit, and I remember feeling very judged by you and deciding that I would share less with you. But I actually didn't. So that's so interesting because I actually didn't think of that as pettiness. I actually thought of that as sort of a boundary decision for myself, which is super interesting because I wish I could think of other examples, myself being petty, but I really do remember that visit and I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, so let me interject. Do you really think that when someone is maybe offended or maybe think that not responding to a particular comment at a particular time, maybe it's not the right time, not the right space, and shutting down or giving the silent treatment, is that really petty?
I think it can depend on the situation. In this particular situation, it definitely was.
Kim, do you feel like you shut down, and do you agree that it's petty?
This is interesting. I have been trying to think through, and I have been trying to think through in preparation for this. What are some of the reasons why? Like, why do people engage in petty behavior? And so I have some thoughts about why people engage in petty behavior. And I actually don't think, from my perspective anyway, the situation that you're describing was me being petty. I do, though, recognize that response of shutting down or silent treatment or withdrawal as a response. And so hearing you talk about it, I recognize that as a response to a few things, right? For me, often it's a boundary issue, right? It's a closing off. It is an unwillingness to be vulnerable in a situation where I don't feel safe to be vulnerable. For me in the past, and I think this is probably true for other people, silent treatment might be a response to feeling powerless or powerlessness, as in what I say won't make a difference, so I won't say anything. So I recognize the silent treatment, and I have thoughts about why people engage in silent treatment. And I also don't think that what you are describing is actually petty. I think what you're describing, I would describe as something else.
So let's talk about some other things that come across to you guys as being petty. Like I said, confronting someone in a way that you know irritates them, or saying something to them that you know irritates them, gets under their skin. What do you feel like are some other things that you recognize, not necessarily in each other, but just other people, whether it's family, friends, coworkers? What are some things that you've been able to witness, or some other things that you recognize as being petty?
Well, definitely the grudge holding thing. I see that sometimes.
Do you think calling someone out on something that they may have said or done, I guess on a lie, like confronting them and forcing them to kind of admit it, is being petty? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that that's being petty.
Just
Um,
for your own satisfaction. Like,
oh,
yeah, there you go.
oh,
Oh,
okay.
you didn't tell the truth.
Hmm.
You know that you didn't tell the truth, but I need for you to know that I know. So I'm going to call you out on it, just for the satisfaction.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if you're doing it just for that satisfaction, then yes.
Satisfaction. I want you to know that I know that you lied.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
petty.
petty. I
Mm.
think that's petty.
So I think I would say, so reminding somebody of their mistakes, right? I think I would put in the category of petty. I think letting somebody know the first time where they have fallen short is letting somebody know where they have fallen short.
Well, let's
And then to
be clear.
continue to remind them of where they have fallen short, either to make them feel bad or to make you feel good. I do think I would put that in the category of petty.
Well,
Mhm.
let's just be clear, because you said reminding someone of their mistakes, and I said lie.
Hmm.
Okay.
I think both lie and mistake. Yes.
Okay.
So I said where they have fallen short. And so sometimes the lie is a mistake and sometimes the lie is on purpose, but a lie I would count as like where you have fallen short. So
Uh,
where you have lied or where you have treated somebody poorly, or these are like all falling short. So reminding somebody of where they have treated
okay.
somebody
They're
poorly.
definitely all examples of falling short, but I'm trying to see where a lie is a mistake. But that's probably for another day.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
I did think of an example. Okay, so let's say you're somebody who often sends people cards or acknowledges a person's birthday or special occasions. And when your special day comes up, a particular person fails to reciprocate. And so your attitude, you know what? Next, we'll see what happens next time. Or you purposely, you decide, you make the decision not to, do what you usually do, just, because they, you know, fell short in your eyes by not acknowledging your thing. I think that that's an example of
I
pettiness.
send everybody a birthday card except for this one person. And I want this one person to know. So okay, so I think I feel like there are
No,
two
no,
levels.
not that, not just
One
that.
one level is I send everybody a birthday card except for this one person. And then the second level is I send everybody a birthday card except for this one person. And I want this one person to know that.
Oh, that's not what I'm thinking. That's not even how
No,
my mind
okay.
worked. My mind worked. I send you a birthday card, but you don't send me one. And so when next time your birthday comes, I decide not to send you a card just because you didn't send me one. That kind of thing is what I
Is
meant.
that petty?
That's petty.
In my mind, it is.
I think it depends on why, right? Am I not sending you a birthday card because
You didn't send me
I
one.
want to hurt you?
Yeah.
Or am I not sending you a birthday card because exchanging birthday cards is not a thing that we do anymore?
No, she said
No,
because you didn't send me one.
I
I'm
was
not.
clear. I was clear. It's because you didn't send me one.
Yeah.
Right. But there are lots of people in the world who don't send you birthday
I'm
cards,
talking
right?
about
Am
my
I
own
not sending
example, though. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about Tara. That's and me. That would be petty for me because that's why I didn't do it.
So if
but
Leslie
so
sends a card and next year I decide I'm not sending Kim a card anymore because Kim never sends me a card, then Leslie's being petty.
I think it depends. To me, I think it depends not just on what the action is, but the motivation, right? If I specifically didn't send you a card because I wanted you to feel bad or I wanted to teach you a lesson or show you something, that is petty. If I didn't send you a card because I didn't have cards or I just didn't feel like
Right.
sending a card, that to me is not petty.
Right.
But that's one and the same because I would be sending you a card because it should come from the heart. If I'm doing it because I want it to be reciprocated and it's not, then it's not heartfelt. And that's why it would be petty.
Oh, you think to send something, to send even to send it, if it's not heartfelt, it's petty.
Because you want,
Nope, that's not. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but that's not what I'm saying. And
I
from my
understand what I was saying, but for me, it shouldn't matter whether you send something back because if I send it, it's from my heart. But if now because you didn't, I stop, then now I'm being petty.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
it makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna throw another example out there and see. So what if you're somebody who always sends a Christmas gift to certain people, and then after certain people, and after a while you notice, huh? And when I say after a while, like you send birthday gifts, you send Christmas gifts, what have you, you reach out, whatever. You notice, huh? This family with these kids have never once sent my child something. Or you think, huh, this other family over here with these children who I send things to all the time, I noticed that when they do send my kids something, it's only after having received something from me. So if you then decide the following year not to send anything, is that petty? And the thing is, get it straight though. I mean, you weren't sending the other things because you wanted something back, but it's a pattern that you've noticed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that the same as what you just said? If you stop sending it, then it is petty.
No, it's not the same as what I said.
Okay, I
I
heard.
think to me, it really does depend on sort of the motivation. I think when we use our actions in a way that is passive aggressive or in a way to send a message,
I know the difference.
that I think veers into pettiness. So for example, I think the not sending of a gift can mean two totally different things depending on the motivation. Not sending a gift could just mean I no longer want to send a gift. But if I'm not sending a gift because you've hurt my feelings or because I'm hoping you notice or because I want to get back at you, that to me feels petty.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you there.
I apologize. I it's registering because you did say they send it after you've sent something,
You don't have to
right?
apologize. We're good.
No. I was just trying, because I said it was the same, so I'm just recognizing the difference in your two examples. So,
Okay.
but petty to one person obviously is not going to be what's petty to the next person, and so, but
Yeah. Like some people, like Kim mentioned, they engage, they have like they do this like revenge thing.
Yeah.
This revenge thing, and that's petty. Can
Or
you
so for example, I mean, I know we don't want to go too far into politics, but I've been following I've been following Kamala Harris and some of the ways that she's campaigning. And then some of the things I'm listening to, there's a real comparison between sort of the way that she is behaving and this idea from Michelle Obama a few years ago, they go low, we go high. So my example of petty is, and this is, I think I heard somebody say something like this, they go low, we take it to the depths of the earth, right? So, so for me, that's petty, right? You go low, I'm going to show you how low I can go.
Mhm.
That is petty. Or I know you're really interested in being the best in this area. I'm going to show you how much better in this area I am than you. Like petty. I think pettiness is a lot about
one-upping the next person.
one-upping, trying to make somebody feel bad. I think there's a
Yeah,
lot
trying to hurt
involved
somebody.
in pettiness and like trying to be hurtful.
I think so too.
And why do people do that? Because hurt people hurt people.
I think sometimes people do it out of insecurities
Yeah.
because I feel low and so I want to bring you down with me, or I want to I want to pop your bubble a little bit.
Misery
Sometimes,
loves
yeah,
misery loves
jealousy.
Insecurity. I'm not secure in myself, so
you ever hear your grandmother all the time say misery loves company. Oh my goodness. All the amongst other things. That was one of many. Misery loves company.
And sometimes, like if I'm not me personally, but I'm saying you can be jealous of what somebody over there has, and so you want to find every little thing to criticize about it, just to bring them lower, to make yourself feel better, or just to convince yourself that what they have is not so great after all. That kind of thing.
So a lot of the examples that we've been talking about around pettiness are around sort of a direct response to a person or sort of a passive aggressive indirect response to a person. I think I might also put gossiping about a person to others in this category of pettiness.
Absolutely
It definitely is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Either because I hope it will get back to that person, but possibly with no intention, with no like hope for getting back to that person, but it makes me feel good.
Yeah, because
talk about this person in a bad way.
Yeah, to tear that person down even in your own estimation, and also probably in the person that you're gossiping with. And like Aunt Leslie said, misery loves company. So if you feel this about this person and you know that this other person feels that way, oh, so maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe this person ain't so great. Another reason why people might engage in pettiness is they have sometimes unresolved issues or feelings surrounding a particular person.
Grudges.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Grievances,
gripes.
Yeah.
Gripes, grudges, and grievances.
I was going to say the 3 G's.
So let me ask you guys, do you think that, I know we've talked a lot about the negative aspects of pettiness, and I don't know if there are any positive, maybe you could think of some, but is pettiness wrong?
It is. I can't think of anything positive about being petty.
I think so. So people sometimes, so I think that some examples of pettiness are more dangerous or more harmful than others, right? Sometimes we engage in light pettiness to build relationship with the person that we're being petty with. Sometimes we engage in pettiness to make ourselves feel less bad about a situation. In both of those cases, there are probably healthier ways to achieve both of those ends.
Yeah, for sure. I think we talked about how it often stems from, I guess, holding on to grudges over like little things. And it is human, I think, to have certain feelings and to also like vent or rant to someone that you feel is like-minded, or to, just to, I don't know, when people get mad or upset, sometimes they just lash out. They lash out. And it can lead to strains in relationship, like the thing that I talked about earlier with you, Kimberly. I think our relationship was pretty strained and you probably didn't even realize it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me that it was
I
strained.
definitely did realize it, because from my perspective, that actually wasn't about punishing you. It was about protecting me. So it absolutely was strained, but we really had very different understandings of what was happening then.
Yeah.
Because I was not at all trying to punish you.
Mhm.
I was trying to protect myself.
I see. Okay. Well, what the Bible says about this, it really encourages us to rise above petty behavior and to strive for kindness, to strive for understanding and forgiveness. For example, Ephesians chapter 4, verses 31 through 32 says, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you." So, do you think it's wrong to judge people for their perceived pettiness?
Wrong to judge people for the perceived pettiness.
When I say perceive, well, yeah, well, I say perceive because my original question is pettiness, but as Aunt Leslie pointed out, and what you have shared, what one person perceives as pettiness, from them, they could be coming from a whole different perspective.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, listen, you feel how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all entitled to our feelings and to feel how we feel. So if I feel bad about a way that somebody has treated me, if you feel bad about a way that somebody has treated you, I would never say that that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, I try not to be judgmental. And I think I want to draw a really fine line between judging and being judgmental because I make judgments all the time. We all make judgments all the time. At the same time, I try not to be judgmental, right, about a person or about a person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Am I answering your question?
You are.
Yeah. I think what you two were discussing with the, for lack of a better term, incident or the example that you talked about, for me, although Tara described it as being petty, Kim, you described it as protecting yourself. I personally don't see that as being petty. That's just my opinion. But I respect how you guys viewed it, your perspective. For me, being petty was me intentionally going after someone for self gratification or self satisfaction. So like I said, and for me, that is not okay under any circumstances. So again, didn't see you guys' situation as either one of you being petty, shutting down to avoid conflict, to protect your feelings. So in that case, if that's what you're doing, I think that that's okay. But to do something to someone intentionally to hurt them, to rub their face in whatever the situation is, to hurt them emotionally, or to just gloat, that is petty and that's not okay.
Yeah, definitely. I would say wrong. And is it bad to judge a person for being petty?
Well, it's bad to judge a person, period.
Yeah.
Yep. And Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 and 2 does say, "Judge not that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use it will be measured to you." And I think that instead of judging, maybe as in like this particular situation, try to understand the underlying reasons for behaviors and address it with, address it. Don't just make assumptions and let things fester.
Yeah.
I think understanding, and I also would add to that compassion. And I was thinking of ways to sort of avoid being petty and imagining compassion as a way to avoid being petty, but also compassion as a response to someone else being petty, right?
Yeah.
Understanding where they are coming from and also having compassion for whatever that person must be going through that creates that response in them.
Yes.
So giving them a pass.
Not necessarily giving them a pass, but like, trying to have compassion, trying to approach things with empathy, just to put yourself in their shoes and see, what you might see as a wrong response from that person, but maybe try to understand why they had their response. And maybe you'll no longer see it as wrong, but as in Kimberly's case, you might see as them trying to protect themselves from something else.
Right. And listen, though, I can have compassion for you, but I don't have to mess with you. So,
Right. Yeah. And both of you started this episode saying that, oh, I'm the queen of you say the queen of petty, or I'm definitely, petty. What do you call yourself? You call yourself Petty LaBelle, but
No,
not one of you actually. I'm the only one that
people,
actually. So
yeah,
what?
you go ahead and let it go flow. I'm a work in progress because people have called me Petty LaBelle, and I'm a work in progress. I have gotten better. I have gotten better. One day I will be a let it go flow, but today I am a petty.
I,
I'm
so
I
no.
joke about being petty because, we grew up in the same household. I would say that I grew up in a household where pettiness was an effective response, an effective response for that environment.
I
As an
don't think
adult,
so. I don't agree with that.
well, I'm going to finish for myself, right? An effective response for that environment. As an adult, I am much more of let it go flow. And that is a result of intentional work on myself and my esteem and like opening my heart to compassion and empathy. Ugh.
Oh, and all that hogwash.
Loving the world, loving
That I find,
people despite their
here-
flaws.
here's the thing that I find though for the people that accuse me of being petty is that because because they don't confront people and they let it go, and I confront people who lie to me or lie on me or do things that I don't like, and they consider me, I guess, confrontational. I'm not confrontational. I address issues. And that's not petty. That's me addressing an issue. If I have a concern, that's not petty.
Well,
Tara
I
said,
do. I do consider myself somebody who lets it go. I mean, I have a long memory. I can't help that. I remember things, but it's what you do with that counts. And I do address things. I do confront, but I don't let it linger. Once I confront it, that's it. You let it go and you move forward. If you don't do that, I think that that's pettiness, and I think that's the difference.
I try, if something happens, I upset about it or I'm angered about it because I'm trying to let it go and I don't want to confront it. I really don't want to confront it. And so I'm carrying it around. And so I have to confront it. I
Yeah.
have to confront it.
Yeah.
I'm saying like sort of a continuum here, right? So
Mhm.
between confronting something and letting it go. And somewhere in the middle, there is how much we hold on to it. So there's confronting and letting it go. That's ideal. Confronting it and not being able to let it go. There are two things that can happen. I am unable to let it go and I just internalize it and it eats away at me. I
Mhm.
am unable to let it go and I keep lashing out in these ways, right? And so the lashing out in these ways is the
Mhm.
pettiness. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Neither
let's.
one is good. They're both
We
unhealthy.
all need,
Mm.
we all need work. How about that?
One of them is an unhealthy. So here's the deal. Okay, so this is. I'm gonna say this thing, and this is why I still sometimes hold pettiness in my heart. That's what I say about myself. I still hold pettiness in my heart because whether I have confronted it or not, I am unable to let it go. And there are two things that can happen. I could hold on and let it eat at myself. Well, why should I be the only one to suffer?
Wow.
That's the, so that's the pettiness. The pettiness is why should I be the only one feeling bad about this?
Now
Well, make
listen.
other people feel bad about this too.
Our listeners can't see what's going on here, but y'all are both like cackling with glee. Both of you, and Aunt Leslie, you're really you are being really yes, 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 and yes. And that's why y'all both say you're petty. And I'm just
Yes.
like, you know what?
This is
And I'm just
absolutely
like,
not
you know
in my
what?
pettiness.
If we talked about it we gonna let it go. We did this already. It's time to move on, because just sitting here in this and revisiting it and revisiting it and revisiting it,
Because now
it's
I'm
not it's not providing
because
any benefit. We're just being stuck here.
because now I'm at the point that you got me in something that I had to confront, and now I'm angry, and now I'm petty.
Mhm.
Hear you.
All right. So here's another way to look at it. So I'm in this middle space of unable to let go of it. Maybe it's possible that the externalizing, the pettiness, is a way that if that's the process that I need to be able to let it go. Right? Is it the healthiest process?
Not for the other person necessarily, because then you're adding burden onto them. Whereas if you just let that go, then you are freeing yourself from carrying around this emotional, this baggage that you don't need, this burden. And if you do that, you can have probably better.
I'm thinking about all of Tara and I's conversations. She'd probably say, just let that mess go.
I can let this burden down and be free, or I can throw this burden at you. But
and then what's gonna happen? It's gonna be like a volleyball, yo.
Yeah, no,
it'll be like a volleyball.
Because if we imagine, right, that the burden is like a heavy boulder in a bag, right? I can let the whole bag down. I can let the whole boulder down. I can be done with it, finished. Or I could turn this boulder into a bag full of pebbles and just lob those pebbles one at a time. And which is, I'm totally recognizing as petty.
Pebbles. I'm about to hit
Wow, y'all crazy. Pebbles. I'm sitting here trying to think of positive alternatives, and y'all just come at your pebbles. Your petty pebbles. Your petty positive. But yes, I hear you.
I was about to call her petty pebbles.
Petty. I say this in jest and also in recognition, right? Because obviously the goal for me is to let things go. And 99% of the time, I am able to let things go. And as we said, work in progress. So I absolutely recognize this impulse to, lob these petty pebbles.
Mm-hmm.
And in all seriousness, I have been a petty LaBelle or a petty Pete or a petty Freddie or whomever, but I am a work in progress. It is something that I have been working on, and I'm getting better, and I will continue to get better. And I hope that we are all on that same journey.
Well, some of us are obviously further along than others. Let's just say.
Clearly, some of us are much more further along than others.
I'm just kidding.
That range right there, Kimberly, that your sister just made, that was petty. That was a dig, and it was petty.
Congratulations, you're in the club.
No, that wasn't petty. It was a joke. There's a difference between a joke and being petty. Because if I were being petty, I would have been like.
Depends on everybody's perspective.
It really does. But if you know me, you know that that's not me. So there you go.
We're just messing around.
I know. Let's think about some more positive things. Like we talked about forgiveness, where some of us will and won't, or are further along than others, like we said. We talked a little bit about like just communicating openly, directly, which is all part of that, I think, comes as part of the whole forgiveness thing, if that's what is necessary. Because that way you're able to get things out in the open. It minimizes or eliminates miscommunication, misperceptions, and things like that.
I think working on one's own individual self-esteem, self-worth, when I feel good about myself and who I am and the way that I move in the world, I'm less interested in being bothered with and having somebody else's behavior take up a lot of space in my mind.
I love that.
And even a little bit of what we did here, practice humor, use humor positively, like laugh things off sometimes just to diffuse the tension. And also a lot of self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of self-reflection.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because there are times I've done things I was like, that was so petty. That was so unnecessary.
I really am struggling to find a time when I would say that was petty, although I'm sure that there have been some recently.
Let me help you. Remember the time, Kimberly, when, no, I'm just kidding.
Remember that time when,
Tara, do
oh,
you remember a time when I was petty? Oh, look at her. I wish
You
y'all.
just told me about a time, was it last night?
What?
You told me about a time last night. Last night you told me about a time when you were recently petty earlier yesterday.
You know, I don't recall.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to share it, but yeah,
is
you
this
tell
an
you
example
often tell
that
me about times when you're petty. Often. Often. That's why I'm sitting here wondering how come nobody else came up with a instance of pettiness that they can think of
okay,
or
Sarah,
having
is this
observed
a
or
small
experienced.
example when you the other day were so sad that you did not have any watermelon and I went and got my watermelon out the fridge and ate it in your face?
How about that one?
That's an example of petty.
Oh,
And
I
then
thought you were
also,
doing it. I thought you were doing it because you knew how much I wanted and you know I just wanted to watch somebody eat some.
girl, okay, let me just there is a lot here. Yes, I ate the watermelon in your face because I knew you wanted some and didn't have any, but also because I
I,
just wanted some watermelon. Because but girl, just watching somebody eat watermelon is enough for you.
It was because I went and bought myself one the next day.
that's like me watching somebody eat ice. That's just not right.
I was like, Mommy, when our parents had like this 35-pound one, I just wanted them to cut it and I wanted to see it because I just love
This just
it.
goes to show what a good person you are. So happy just to see that other people are having joy in their lives. Good for you.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh my God, y'all are so hateful.
So here's an example of pettiness that I found on the interwebs. A few years ago, Martha Stewart posts a picture of herself like in her pool, making a face, like that little duck face that people make on social media. And so later, the comedian Chelsea Handler, probably trying to make fun of Martha Stewart, posts a picture of herself in a pool making kind of that same expression. So here's the pettiness.
Mhm.
Martha gets into Chelsea's comments and she writes something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm so glad that you like my picture enough to emulate it. But I really do think my pool is prettier than yours. And my facial expression is more relaxed. But you're too young to be trying to emulate me. You just keep on doing your comedy thing and making friends with liberals." That is petty. That is savage. And so when I think of what I find hilarious about that, I think part of why people appreciate pettiness, part of why I like pettiness is that it really just is funny.
Mhm.
I'm just here for the laughs.
Mhm.
That is part of the bystander of enjoyment of pettiness, watching somebody get their comeuppance. Because Martha did look cuter than Chelsea Handler, and she didn't have any business commenting on Martha's pictures in the first place.
So, Tara, was it the phone thing last night?
It might have been.
There was several things?
I don't remember all the details, but I remember it was about a particular person and something that you did regarding that person.
How much?
There you go.
You're
That's
struggling.
Well, let me ask you this. Like I said earlier, why do you think some people take pride in being petty?
because they want to hurt the other person.
I
They
think
must
yeah.
have done something. It's for revenge.
No, but
Or
even
I think I
if
need to know more about what you say what you mean when you say take pride. So, for example, when I joke about my petty behavior, is that an example of what you mean? Okay,
yes,
so here are some of
yes.
the reasons why I joke about my petty behavior. Partly because acknowledging the ways that I am still a work in progress, I think, particularly given the work that I do, humanizes me in a way that feels important to me, right? I am still on a path just like everybody else. I still do silly, petty things just like everybody else. So part of why I do it, I'll speak for myself, is to acknowledge, it's sort of humility to acknowledge the ways that I am still working on myself.
But sometimes it seems like a low key brag.
Oh, like a humble brag. Tell me more about that.
Like when you say, like, I don't know if you said it in this particular episode, but in other meetings, you like, oh, we have to talk about petty because I am petty or something like that. I'm the queen of petty or, things like that. Or when people take pride in saying, and I know that, like you said, other people have told me that I'm Petty LaBelle, but you yourself have also said that I am Petty LaBelle and I can be petty, that kind of thing. How you, Leslie?
Big bus.
What do you mean?
Big bus. She just threw me under.
What we could take that out if you want to, but that's part of the question. It does sometimes seem like people take pride in that.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes we are just that terrible. Sometimes we do, depending on the situation. We do it we really come with our claws out sometimes, depending on the situation. We do.
But why?
So I do think, so again, I hear you don't agree with me when I say that I grew up in an environment where pettiness was an effective response. So again, I'll use my I language. Pettiness felt for me like an effective tool in an environment where kindness feels not valued, where sharpness and meanness feels more valued than kindness. Then being petty and being known for being petty raises your stature in that environment. That is a reason why someone might revel in and brag about being petty if you are in an environment where pettiness is rewarded and respected.
It wasn't respected.
But she felt like it was.
It wasn't. I hear you. I understand that. But she felt that it was. Mm-hmm.
So I hear you, but I also think what the behavior that you're describing to me actually doesn't feel like the behavior that you described, right? Like silence and withdrawal, to me actually doesn't sound petty. Silence and withdrawal as a way to punish somebody, possibly.
That's what it felt like. I'm just gonna lay it out there. When you did that, or when you did that, to me, it felt like punishment. It felt like meanness.
No, I hear you saying that. I understand.
But
that wasn't your motivation for it, is what you're saying. But it was that was the effect it had.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, when we were talking about everyone's definition of pettiness to begin, and now you're asking, why do we, I want to say glorify it.
Yeah, that works. Glorify.
Okay. We're not going to have the same answer for why we glorify it because we don't even have the same definition of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You saw her silence as being petty, and you can't understand why she would glorify something that you perceive as being offensive and negative. Kim,
not just I mean, and I think maybe that's why. It bothers me, because I don't just see it as offensive or whatever. To me, it's actually hurtful.
Right. And this is what I'm saying. Just my opinion now. So hear me out. This is my opinion. I don't feel like any answer she gives you is going to sit well with you because you don't agree that she wasn't being petty. She's telling you she wasn't being petty. She was protecting herself. So until you guys can agree on how she defines it, you're not going to agree that she's not glorifying it.
Yeah. Well, but I think that's what you're missing, though, because I do accept that. I do accept it and understand that, but it doesn't change the fact that it hurt. So I accept I accept what she's saying. I believe what she's saying, and I accept it. I understand it. It still hurt, though. And that's all I'm saying. I mean, But
But
also
but
I moved past it because there's no
do
reason to
you
sit in
still
that.
describe it as pettiness? You still think I was being petty?
When I think of that behavior, then I mean, until you told me how you felt about it, what you felt you were doing. Yes, but once you put that out there, then I can no longer see that as petty because you were not trying to be hurtful. You were not trying to do that. You were coming at it from a different angle, from a different perspective, a different motivation. So no, there are other behaviors or that I haven't mentioned in that I do think were deliberately harmful and hurtful.
Can you describe what they are?
I really don't want to. I'm sorry. I really don't want to get into it.
Like, because you don't want it on the recording, or because you don't want to get into it at all?
Not on the recording, but it's something that we could do afterwards if you like.
Okay. Yes.
But you said you're curious?
I am.
So
We should wrap
anyway,
up because I'm dying to hear about these other behaviors.
So as we wrap up today's episode on pettiness, I hope we've shed some light on how these seemingly small behaviors can have a significant impact on our relationships and overall well-being. Recognizing pettiness in others is one thing, but turning the lens on ourselves can even be more challenging. Do we even care if we're being petty? Hopefully, today's discussion has inspired a bit of self-reflection. And for those who want to, by choosing to focus on understanding, empathy, and positive alternatives, we can break the cycle of pettiness and foster healthier, more meaningful connections. Again, thank you for tuning in to Unfiltered Perspectives. Be sure to look for a new episode on Thursday mornings, and don't forget to share, rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode.
Find us on Facebook and YouTube at Unfiltered Perspectives and Instagram at Unfiltered Perspectives IG. And we would love to hear from you, your questions and your ideas about other things we should talk about. Send your questions to unfilteredperspectives@outlook.com.
Let's remember that we are all a work in progress. Let's remember to love one another, respect one another, and allow each other some grace. We will see you back here next time.